Hey everybody, welcome back to Nerd Bone. Yes, it's another one of those. Make sure to follow us on the tweets and the Instagrams at Nerdbone. Don't forget about that, because everybody's got to stay home now. I have to be home with my kid and my wife, and it's pretty great. And it means I get to do a whole bunch of cool stuff. So, first things first, if you are not a nerd about pens, that is the writing utensil known as a pen, uh, you might want to rethink your presence here. I'm just saying, if you're interested in maybe getting into such a thing as I am, then welcome. You're in the right place. Welcome. So here's what I'm getting at. I have two pens that I have found over the years that I consider my everyday carry pens. I either have one or the other, or a lot of times both. One of them, which I'll show you in a second, is always connected to my notebook or a sketch pad, that sort of thing. And that's sort of always with me, or it's in the car or in my bag, that sort of thing. So I consider them both everyday carriers because the second pen is in my pocket all the time. I always have a pen, and over the past couple of years, it has always been this pen. So we're gonna start with number one. We're gonna start with the fancy one, and well, you'll see why it's fancy. So I decided to do lettering stuff. I've always enjoyed doing lettering stuff. It's like one of those things where every time I would open a new notebook or I would get a new pen and I would test it, I would do some sort of lettering thing to sort of get a feel for my grip on the pen, or what's the paper like, how is this going to go, how's the ink going to translate onto the paper. Which, side note, every time I doodle or draw on my notebook or anything like that, it's always going to be in pen. I love working with ink for some reason. I I always feel like I mess up on pencils, which pencil is nice because then you can erase it. But for some reason, I'm just not into it. I don't like it for some reason. I think it's because I don't commit enough. Like with ink, if I just go straight ink instead of doing pencil, well then I know that I can't erase it, so I just have to go for it. And if I make a mistake, well then I got to start it all over again. And it's sort of that crazy mentality that you know just jump out of the airplane kind of idea. I guess that's just what clicks with me. So a little while ago, a few months ago, we're standing in the arts and crafts store, and I had decided to do a little bit more with lettering stuff, and but I wanted a good pen, and I knew that my dad had a couple of these special kind of pens, but I didn't necessarily want to just grab his really nice pens and just start doodling with them. I wanted a starter, and boy, am I happy I picked this one. So this is a boop speedball. This is a speedball fountain pen. This is incredibly basic, super super basic. It's just plastic, and as you can see, it's got the little window on the side there. Because, well, that'll be important once I open it up. Oh, do you like my nails? My daughter did my nails. So very basic. This is like your starter pen. And so for a starter pen, I figured I'd go with a starter tip, which is the tip that came with it. It actually came with three tips. This is a 1.1. You can't really see it. It's not really going to focus, but this is a 1.1. There you go. A basic 1.1 tip. It comes with the pen. And the coolest part about these ink pens, I'm going to try not to get ink on my laptop here. Actually, I'll open up to a blank page here, and you will see. So this unscrews like so. Take that off, and you can see in the end there, it's actually like a vial. Oh, I'm glad that was there. This is a vial of ink, and what you do is you get reloads, you get recharges, basically. You get them in like packs of 5 or 10 of different colors, that sort of thing, and that's your ink. you pop it right into the end here, boop, and you screw this on here. And as you screw tighter, the end pops, the ink starts flowing. You give it a couple of shakes, you give it some test writing, you do some lines, you practice your cross hashing for shading, that sort of thing. I love this pen. I love it because it's basic, for being slightly more complicated than your regular pen. Uh, and again, it's nothing special, but it is special because it's different from just grabbing a regular ballpoint pen. Like, you have to be careful with this. You have to focus on each stroke. uh, you have to focus on each stroke. You have to concentrate on the angle that you're holding it at, because if you go too high, well, then it's going to be, maybe it'll be as thin as you want it to be, but then it won't flow as much. If you go to the side, then the line is going to be super broad. So you have to be careful. You have to be very thoughtful about what you're doing. And I feel like that is the most important part of just art in general. Sometimes you can just get in a zone with a piece of art and you can just flash it out and that's it. Done. Piece of art. But for me, in my experience anyway, I like to focus. I like to think through what I'm doing. And this has also, with the 1.1 tip, this has also provided another service to me, which I used to do a lot when I was a kid, and I'm really happy that I'm doing again now, which is letter writing. I love writing letters with this pen. And of course, I found the kind of paper that I prefer, which is simply, here's the Strathmore sketch paper. It's a little bit more dense than regular paper. It's got a grain to it, which I think is fantastic. And I would demonstrate for you, except my camera's not that good. And as you can see, this is out of ink. So, so yes, so this is a Speedball, very basic. You can get it at, what is it, Joann's. You can get one at Michael's. You can buy them online. I think it was like $10. I don't know. Now, there are so many different kinds of these pens that you can get, different styles of tips, made out of different materials and that sort of thing. My buddy Michael Marcinko, at Cheese Doodle Dad on the tweets and the Instagrams and all that jazz. He's really into pens as well, and actually we've been writing back and forth, which is really awesome. He's got ones that are a little bit fancier than mine, in like the $25 to $30 range. But yeah, no, this is making me feel like, oh gosh, I'm slipping. It makes me feel like I'm not only writing a letter, but that the letter is a piece of art itself, and it's just, I don't know, it's great. It's comfortable in my hand. I highly recommend it. Speedball 1.1 tip, with the cartridge ink. You can get black, blue, red, purple, blah, 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 blah. Roy G. Biv. All right. So that is the fancy schmancy, not so fancy Speedball pen, letter writing, a couple of doodles, that sort of thing. Now, this next pen is the one that I have in my pocket every single day, no matter what. And actually, the labeling has rubbed off, and I don't think I have another one. But this is a Pilot G7, and this is a 1.0 tip, ballpoint clicker, boop, and it's pretty standard. But it's also one that you sort of recognize immediately. And every time I've encountered one of these pens, quote unquote, in the wild, center it more there. Every time I've seen one in the wild being used by somebody else, I would give a compliment like, hey, great pen, looks like it writes really well. And every single time the person is like, oh my God, I love these pens, right? Yeah, every time I see a pack of these, I grab one, basically. I love these pens. I think it's a gel pen. I don't know, but the ink flows really, really well. I've never had an issue with it getting gummed up or anything like that. Um, and I have used it in so many instances. So in my real life job, I'm a maintenance tech. I do a lot of property maintenance stuff, and I'm writing on all sorts of surfaces. Most of the time, I'm writing in a notebook. Sometimes I have to make a mark on a wall, or just a regular piece of drywall, or a piece of wood, or a piece of rubber, or a piece of whatever that I either have to cut or label or anything like that. And I have always been able to rely on this pen to do it. And again, it's a really simple, I think it's like $10 for a pack of 5 or something like that. I think you can also get refills. You can get refill things for these. Boop, those guys right there. And again, for those of you just joining, this is a Pilot G7 1.0. This is my absolute must have this in my pocket at all times. My Boy Scout bee preparedness in my brain. I always find myself or the person that I'm with is in need of a pen at some point, and this is the one that I rely on the most. The only thing disappointing is that unless I order it online, you can only find them in like packs of 4. Guys, dear Pilot, send me a case. I want a case of these things. These are amazing. So those are my 2 pens for this video, my everyday carry pens. The Pilot G7 1.0 tip Klecker, and the, what is it? Speedball. I always forget. And the Speedball 1.0 tip fountain pen with the refillable cartridges. Booyah! Those are my EDC pens. Thank you so much for checking out the video. I will see you guys another time. Please check us out on the tweets and the Instagrams at Nerdbone. We hope you are all staying safe out there, and we will see you next time. Peace.